So my name's Howie. I'm actually not a youth, but I'm one of the field staff here with students on ice in Antarctica, and it's a wonderful January day down here. I want to talk about an interesting phenomenon that I've been noticing over the past several years, and it's happened really strangely at parties. So when I go to parties, which isn't that frequent because apparently I'm a bit of a loser or something, I don't know why, I enjoy observing the host and the conversation that the host has with their guests. And so just say the host will be there and the first guest will arrive and the host will ask them, "Great, welcome to the party. What do you do? Let me know a bit about yourself." And the guest will say, perhaps, "Oh, I'm a lawyer." And the host will say, "Wonderful, that's very interesting. What kind of law do you practice?" Or they'll ask, "What law firm do you work for?" And after a bit of a description of what their job and what they do, the host says, "Fantastic, enjoy the party," and the guest goes off towards the snack table and get a drink, and then the host will go to the next guest and they'll ask them, "So what do you do?" And the guest will say, "Well, I'm a teacher." And the host says, "That's fantastic, that's very, very interesting. Well, what do you teach? What grade do you teach? What are your students like? What do teenagers do nowadays?" And the teacher will explain what their job is and explain a little bit more. And then they'll go over to the snack table or get a drink and go into the party. Then the host will come up to me and they'll ask me, "So Howie, what do you do? I want to know more about yourself." And I say, "Well, I work to help people reduce their carbon footprint. I work in climate change." And the host will say, "Oh, interesting. Well, I recycle here. And sorry about the paper plates, though." And it's very, very interesting because I wonder what is it about environmentalism that makes the average person so defensive? And I can only really come to two conclusions and two reasons. The first is the fear of being criticized. And that's a little bit understandable. The second, and a much more powerful emotion, is perhaps guilt. And that's something that I think is very interesting. I know a lot of people who, once they learn about the environment out here and what people are doing to it, that feeling of guilt and responsibility that comes with it drives them towards doing greater actions. But there's also another chunk of the population that I don't quite understand, and I'm really trying to understand a little bit more, that when they learn about all this stuff that's happening in the world and that humanity is doing to it, they kind of go the opposite direction. They perhaps turn their heads away, or perhaps they close their eyes, or they just don't want to know about it for some reason. And I think that's a very, very damaging thing. And if that ignorance comes from guilt, then I think one of the things we need to do is we need to explore that emotion a lot more. We need to explore that feeling of our relationship. Why do I feel guilty, or why does the emotion that I feel towards humanity's impact on the planet, why is it this way? And the more that we explore that, I think we'll be able to better understand and better communicate and better be able to work with one another, regardless as to whether or not we're from that first group, that's really motivated by this feeling of responsibility and guilt, or from that second group that feels a little bit more disconnected and a little bit more disempowered. And the more we understand that emotion, the more we understand that feeling, I think the better it is that we'll be able to get a solution to all these global problems.